Hello, welcome to Record Time. My name is Mina. I'm so happy to be here with you. Record Time is a weekly Akashic experience where we explore simple and mysterious themes through the lens of the Akashic Records. And I can't wait to dive in. This is the highlight of my week. So let's see what the keepers of the Akashic Records have for us today. They are asking us, in the most desperate times, how open is your gaze? In the most desperate times, how open is your gaze? Oh gosh, this question is so lush. There's a lot here around this, so I'm excited to explore it. So, right, the first piece of this question, they're naming a specific type of context in the most desperate times, right? When things feel hardest, when life is really challenging you, when things are not going the way that you wanted to or expected them to. How open is your gaze? What does that mean? What they're speaking to is in those moments in your life where internally or externally things feel challenging, even desperate, things are difficult. It can sometimes feel like we don't feel as connected to the universe or that kind of like unseen support. And maybe when things are calmer or clearer or going well, we do feel connected to either our deep self or the universe or whatever it is, however you name it, that thing, that kind of like, that kind of like extra outer, spacious, spiritual support. And maybe it's easier to connect into that when things are going good, right? Maybe we'll see signs everywhere, or we just feel more connected to our intuition, whatever it is, connected to our own knowing. And yet when things really start to hit the fan, it can feel like, oh God, where did my support go? Oh, where did you go when the world needed you most? You vanished, like that kind of vibe. So it can feel like, oh, where did all of my spiritual support go? Where did my guides go? Why can't I hear them? My intuition feels so quiet. What's wrong? They're not there for me. Things are hard and they abandoned me. It can get so tender. It can feel like such a wound, like a real abandonment in the difficult times when you aren't feeling really deeply connected to that support that you might be used to feeling. It can be really painful. And this is what they're speaking to. It's that context that they're speaking to in this week's episode, where they're saying, in those desperate times, how open is your gaze? And what they could add into this question is, in the desperate times when you feel like we're not there, how open is your gaze? And what they're kind of offering with this is what I've noticed in my personal experience. I have a relationship with my intuition. I have a relationship with the Akashic Records. I do feel deeply connected to both those things pretty much all the time. And when things get very hectic, right, in the most desperate times, it can feel like those things start to slip away. And it can feel like even almost like a betrayal, like, how did you let things get so bad, guys? Like, don't you care about me? Why are things so challenging? I thought we were on the same team, and now things are hard and you're not there, and I'm all by myself and I don't know what to do. So again, it can get so personal and so tender. And this, I just want to offer so much compassion if you're in that position, or if you've been in that position, if you know what I'm talking about for any reason. I know that it can be so painful. And for me, in those times when it feels so challenging and you feel like you don't even have that extra support of your intuition or your guides or whatever, it can feel like you're really lost and very alone. And in those moments, right, when things get hectic and it gets quiet, or it feels like you're untethered to that, what they're saying with this question, how open is your gaze, is, are you open to receiving our support in a way that's not typical to how you usually do. And what they mean by that, and what I've just noticed, is I have a specific kind of feeling and flavor of my intuition and working with the records that's there normally. And when things get chaotic, that can shift. And so what they're saying is, if you feel like we're abandoning you, it could be that we're just communicating with you in a different way. And I'm not going to say that the communication might not be less. It could be that things are a little bit more subtle, it could be a lot quieter. Maybe there's not as many signs or signals or communication as you're used to from that inner knowing space. And yet, can you still be open? Can you still be open to the idea that they haven't abandoned you? That your intuition hasn't left you? That it's still there, it just might be speaking to you differently. Maybe you're someone that just feels a sense of clarity inside, and in a desperate moment, you're not feeling that, and you feel like, oh my God, my intuition went away. Can you literally open your gaze? It's like maybe there are actually physical signs in your space that usually aren't there, but maybe, the universe is speaking to you in a different way for this moment in time. That is something that has happened to me multiple times. And I just want to offer this to you as maybe that's what's happening for you too. I don't know, because I don't know what your relationship to your intuition or your guides is. The universe, your keepers, your beloveds, your ethereal team. I don't know what your relationship is, but for me, this is something I've noticed. And I feel like it could be possible that it could happen to others too, where in hectic moments, the main way of communication that you're used to receiving from your inner knowing or from the universe, it could be different. They could be switching lines and calling you on a different phone. So that's what they're inviting us into here. There's this deep sense of, it's almost like, oh, can you sit back? Almost like take a step back, literally, and open up your gaze of like, okay, I'm not hearing it. I'm not feeling it. I'm not seeing it. I'm not sensing it in the way that I'm used to, but what else is here? That's the question to ask. I'm not getting the support I want in the way I want it, but what else is here? What else is here? Maybe there's a friend. Maybe there's a sweet animal. Maybe there's a spot in nature that just is calling to you so deeply that has never really spoken to you before. Maybe it's the way the clouds kind of obscure the sun and light kind of passes in and out, and you can feel that on your skin. Maybe it's the breeze. It could be anything. Is there anything that offers you a moment of sanctuary and support? How open is your gaze? How open are you to receiving support in different ways when you're at, a desperate moment, when you're experiencing something really difficult? And they're offering something interesting about desperation. They're saying when we are at our most desperate, we can tend towards two different things. When we're desperate, it can be that we just have blinders on and double down on what we think we need to do. And there's no other options. It's like, this is our gaze. And we're just doing that thing. And it's like, we can't see anything else. We're not open to any other options. It's just this. And it's that like fear and desperation that's motivating this kind of like, I have to do it this way. This is the only way. There's like a frenzied kind of feeling with that. The other thing that can happen when we're at our most desperate is almost miraculous. When we're at our most desperate, for better or for worse, we can suddenly become very open to things we never would have considered before. And that is, again, totally opposite end of the spectrum of what I just described, of like feeling like there's only one way to do something. So we can really, like, this feeling of desperation can catalyze us to move to the extremes of behavior where it's like our gaze is totally narrow and closed, or it's suddenly really open. And so what they're saying in this question too is, right, when you're at your most desperate, how open is your gaze? They're inviting you to use the feeling of desperation of like, I just need this to be different. I need the difficulty to be over. Can you use that feeling of desperation to be the catalyst that opens your gaze? This is so uncomfortable and I need help. I'm willing to see things differently. Desperation can serve as an ally and a catalyzing opener, expander for us in those moments. It can be extremely beautiful and such a support. And it can also push us into things that might not be for our best, right? So it can kind of make us dig ourselves into a hole, or it can just make us frantically try anything, even if it's not in our best. And so what they're asking us is, when you're at your most desperate, can you notice that and use that desperation as a willingness to see things differently, to open up your gaze and say, I'm willing to see what else is here. I'm not getting the support in the places I'm seeking it, but I'm willing and open to see what else is here. And there's this energy of stepping back and pausing, like leaning back, looking, expanding your gaze. It's like literally backing up to zoom out, pause, and see what's here. And the pause is essential because that is the thing that gives us the freedom to choose with consciousness for what's actually in our best interest, what's actually in deep alignment for us. If we don't take that pause, we might just jump to the first new thing we see, and that might not actually be a good fit for us. So to avoid the kind of like clutches, the negative clutches of desperation, which is like, it can totally keep us, just unseeing to what's available. It can keep us like stuck in one option that isn't working even, or it can, make us go to, drastic measures that are also not good for us. But if we can use our desperation to open our gaze, to take a pause and consider everything that's here, then we have the openness of different options, of different support, and we have this pause to engage with our awareness of what would actually serve me. So that's what I have for you this week. I think I'm gonna leave you here with that contemplation. And yeah, I invite you to think about this, to save this. Maybe it's not relevant to you right now, but you can save this video, and know that it's there for you. If you ever do come across a difficult time, you'll have this as a support for you. And if you know anyone that's going through something difficult, that is feeling desperate and scared, or like they aren't connected to their spiritual support like they're used to, you can share this with them. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave you for today. I'd love to know what this inspires in you. If this sparks something in you, feel free to leave a comment and share your inspiration with us. And until next time, I'm wishing you well. Namaste.